Hello students, welcome to my accounting channel. My name is Danial Shahid, subject MA1 of ACCA, Kaplan textbook, chapter number 3, classification of cost and cost behavior. Dear students, the video includes variable cost explanation with examples graphically explained, graph of total variable cost to level of activity, graph of variable cost per unit to level of activity, and Kaplan kit questions explained, question number 51 and 72. Let's start from variable cost. Variable costs are costs that change in total with level of activity. Now have a look at this slide. It's from my last video on behavioral classification of cost. There is always an activity behind a cost that generates cost. Dear students, always there is an activity behind a cost, and that cost and that activity is the reason for the cost. For example, have a look on this slide, the electricity bill. Why we pay electricity cost? Because we use electricity. Why we pay gas bill? Because we use gas. Why we pay water bill? Because we use water. Telephone bill, because we use telephone. Fuel cost, because we use the fuel in our vehicles. Transport cost, because we use transportation services. Why we pay the restaurant bill? Because we take meal at restaurant. And why we bear traveling cost of airlines? Because we use airline services. So you have seen there are probably 8 examples that all the costs are due to certain activities, and those activities are responsible for the costs. So if a cost is changing due to the change in activity, means activity is increasing, then the cost is increasing, or the activity is decreasing, then the cost is decreasing, then this cost is variable cost. The second attribute of the variable cost is that the variable cost per unit remains constant for any level of activity within the relevant range. Have a look at the example of the bread seller. Let's assume that a bread seller is selling his bread for 20 rupees. So if you are going to purchase one bread, it will cost you 20. The total cost will be 20, and cost per bread will be 20 rupees. If you are purchasing 2 breads, then total cost will become double to 40, but the cost per bread will remain 20. If you are going to purchase 3 breads, then the total cost of the bread will become 60, but the cost of the bread will again be 20. So have you noticed that the variable cost is changing in all of the 3 cases? The variable cost has been changed, and the related activity is the purchase of bread. So the activity level has been changing. The activity level is rising. You are gonna purchase more breads in the next cases. So the cost is rising too. So such a cost is variable cost. Have a glance. In case 1, the total cost of the bread was 20. In case 2, it was 40, and in case 3, it was 60. Now look that the variable cost per unit is constant and it remains unchanged. Now have a look at the case 1. In case 1, the cost of one bread was 20. Again, in case 2, it was 20, and in case 3, it was 20. Now let's take an example of furniture business. Again, revise the variable cost. The variable costs are costs that change in total with level of activity. However, variable cost per unit remains constant for any level of activity within the relevant range. Let's assume that there is a furniture business, and wood is the raw material for the furniture. and the business is manufacturing the chairs. Per chair cost $50 raw material, $50 wood. So if the business will manufacture one chair, it will cost $50. Total cost of wood will be $50. The cost of wood per chair will be $50. If the business will make two chairs, then the total cost will become double, because now the business is making up a couple of chairs. So for two chairs it will be 100, and the cost of wood per chair will again be 50. Now if the business is gonna manufacture 5 chairs, then the total cost will become now $250, whereas the cost of wood per chair will be $50. So again, you have seen that in case 1 the total cost was 50, in case 2 it was 100, in case 3 it was 250. So in this case the activity is manufacturing of chairs. So the manufacturing of chairs is the activity, and the activity level is rising, so the cost is rising. Whereas the variable cost per unit is cost of wood per chair. It's $50 in all of the 3 cases. Now have a look on the graph. We'll take the same example of the furniture business. One chair for $50 wood, and for 2 chairs it takes $100 wood. We have to plot this data given in the table in the graph. So for 1 chair, over here the unit produced is the chairs produced. So the for one chair the raw material cost is $50. For 2 chairs it's $100. For 3 chairs $150. For 4 chairs $200. For 5 chairs it's $250. And for 6 $300. We have plot all of the readings. Now the graph, the straight line is the graph for total variable cost to level of activity. Now have a look on the graph for variable cost per unit. Again, we'll consider the same example. Now this time we'll plot the raw material cost per chair, means the wood cost per chair. So for 1 chair it's 50. For the second chair again 50. For the third chair it's again 50. For the fourth chair it's 50. So you have seen that for now from 1 to 6 it's relevant range. So within the relevant range the variable cost per unit is constant. So the graph is parallel line to x-axis. It's variable cost per unit to level of activity. Now the attributes of variable cost, we have finally reached the conclusions that there are 2 litmus tests. While we are discussing the behavioral classification of cost, we have 2 tests, we have 2 conclusions. The first test is that if a cost is varying with level of activity, it will be variable cost. So variable cost in total varies or changes with the level of activity. That is, if level of activity increases, total variable cost will increase, and vice versa. The second litmus test is the behavior of the cost per unit. So for variable cost, the behavior of variable cost per unit is that it will remains unchanged and will be constant within the relevant range. I have a look on the Kaplan kit questions. The red mark questions have been done in my last videos relating to cost unit and cost centers, and the green mark questions will do it now in this video. Again, the red mark questions have been done in last videos related to cost unit and cost centers, and green mark questions will be done over here. Question number 72, question number 51 and 72. These two questions are related with this topic. Kaplan Kit 2017. Question number 51. Have a glance on the question. So the following graph represent which type of cost? We have discussed this in the last slide, if you remember. I hope you have understand that this graph is related to variable cost. Suggested answer. So this is a graph for total variable cost to level of activity. Second question, question number 72 of Kaplan Kit 2017. There are 4 graphs given. So the question is, which of the above charts represent variable cost per unit? So variable cost per unit, you think over it. We have discussed it in the last slide. Graph 1, chart 1. In chart 1, the graph is the line parallel to x-axis and it relates to the variable cost per unit. Whereas in chart 2, the straight line relates to the total variable cost to level of activity. Suggested answer. Thanks for watching the video. Like the video, subscribe the channel. You can call or WhatsApp for any details relating to the classes, mocks, or any other comments. You can also comment on the video in the channel. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much. Take care.